If you are new on the channel, welcome. If you are an OG, welcome. All I will say is do not forget, like, subscribe. This is what we do on the channel. Anything that got to do with camera, photography, cinematography, this is the right channel for you. So today, we got two handsome, beautiful cameras in the building. We're going to start with the Canon 70D, which is one of Canon's OG cameras. And we also got Nikon D7000, which is also one of the amazing or the champions in the Nikon family. So without wasting much time, let's just head straight into the intro. And before you say, hey, Vim, this is not a fair comparison. One has been in the markets before the other, wara. My apologies, all right? I'm not doing this review because one is better than one, but I'm actually doing this review for people who would like to get their hands on either of these cameras. I mean, whichever it might be, maybe budget or, in terms of specifications, the camera needs to be reviewed either way. So yes, the Canon was released in 2013. I stand to be corrected, and this was released in 2010. So they do have a bit of differences, and they also do have a bit of similarities in terms of specifications and release date. The Canon 70D has about 20 megapixel. This also shoots 16.2 megapixel. I know it's not the best in today's standard. We do have 18 megapixel, 20 all the way to 40 something plus megapixel these days. So I understand it's not the best out there, but who even cares about the megapixel when the price is way too low? They both shoot videos, okay? They all handle videos very well. I think in terms of video codecs, both of them do 1920, and with the Canon, you do get 24 frames and you also get 30 frames. You also get the same one on this side, but I think the major difference is when you downscale it to 720p. So I know a lot of people might say, okay, Vim, who even shoots 720p in today's standard? Well, it's not the best out there and it's not the worst out there, but it is there if ever you need some slow-mo capabilities. I think you can go all the way down to 720 and get your 60 frames out there. Bear in mind, it's not going to be the best like the 1080p or the 1920, but I guess it is there if ever you need it to slow a bit of footages down here and there. With the Canon, when you open the input, you do get your mic input, and then you also get a lot more like your HDMI, and you also get your USB. So just standard connections, nothing really crazy. Just bear in mind the HDMI is not a full size. I think this is the standard HDMI, so that is something that you need to be aware of. Another thing is the Canon also has a flippy screen, and that is something that might kill the Nikon completely, but we're going to get to that in a short while. They both got top LCDs. That is something that I love. You know me and camera LCDs, man. It's not that much of a big deal, but I pretty much like these options whenever camera companies put them. So they both have a top LCD, but I think the major difference between the two, or the major difference between the Canon and the Nikon, will have to be the slots. Alright, so if you are getting these two cameras, that is something that you also need to put into consideration. Are you a professional photographer, professional videographer? Are you someone that you cannot risk one take footage and you need, dual SD card? Then I think the Canon is not for you, because with the Canon, you do get a single SD card, which might be a problem for some of the people in the market. But with this particular one, you get dual SD card. So there is slot 1 and slot 2, which they both use SD. So I think it might become very handy for professional photographers or professional, let me not say professional videographers, but maybe a hobbyist videographer. You guys can see the physical appearance of the two. The Canon actually got a beautiful flippy screen, also got a top LCD, and also the button layouts are very much well organized. But with this one, you do get your your top LCD, no flippy screen. The buttons are okay, nothing really to be impressed about, but they are well spec'd, they are well labeled very well. So in terms of the build quality, I would say that The Nikon actually got a bit of edge here because it's a little bit more bigger than the 70D, if I'm not mistaken. I think the Nikon is actually built well. Another thing that I would like you guys to know is both of these cameras are APS-C sensors. Yes, they are crop sensor cameras. So whichever lens that you pair on either of them, be expecting your 1.6 times crop or your 1.5 times crop. They are not a full frame camera by any means. That is something that a lot of people do confuse. I mean, because the Nikon got a bulkier body and grip, they tend to assume that this camera is a full frame, which is not the case. The only full frame cameras you get in this form factor from Nikon is the D850, the D750, the D700, I guess, and a couple of few of them. I'm not talking about the Z lines or the Z lines. I would say that if you are someone that is more into videography, like this type of YouTube videos, I will highly suggest you pick up this camera. And if you are someone that, let's say if you are someone that do both but maybe video more, I think that Canon will do a very much decent job than the Nikon, because firstly you do get your articulating screen, even though you lack dual SD card. But since I've used this camera, I think I've had it for about 3 or 4 months now. It has been shooting most of my YouTube videos and I've never had a card issue or slot issue by any means. So with regards to video aspect, it does the job. Photography as well, it also does the job, but I think it will depend on the type of lenses that you pair with the camera, because normally with the kit lens, you tend to get some unwanted qualities and all that. So yeah, getting straight to the Nikon also does a beautiful job, especially if you are a professional photographer. I would say the Nikon can really do the job as long as you also know the right lenses to pair with this particular camera. But when it comes to video side, if you are buying this camera for video, look elsewhere, because this camera and videos are really not friends, all right? They are really not friends, simply because you lack the flippy LCD thing, and the codecs for videos are very much limited in terms of what frame rates to shoot. So here you only get up to 24 and 30 frames per second, which I know in today's standard is really not the best, but I guess it is there if ever you need it to shoot videos. But just bear in mind that if you want to do heavy videos and all that, let's say something like what I'm currently doing, you'll be very much limited. And if you want to do vlog as well, this is definitely not the camera for you. I would suggest you pick up the Canon instead of the Nikon. So overall, this is the two comparisons that I have here. I know Canon does have the edge here in terms of higher megapixel, better video codec and all that. Even the grip feels okay, but I think this actually feels better than that. That's just a personal preference. I mean, you might also feel the other way around when you hold the camera in person. So yeah, thank you very much for coming, guys. I'm not sure if I did not tackle or if there's something that I left out, but if there is any, listed in the comment section. If you have any questions based on these two, let me know in the comment section, and I am more than willing to answer all your questions. So to summarize everything, which is a better camera, I know that's something that you want to hear before you go, right? So yeah, they both do the job, they both handle everything you throw at it, but I think here the Canon does have the edge here. So thank you very much for coming, guys. If you are new on the channel, do not forget, like, subscribe, it really helps me a lot, and I guess I'll catch you guys in another video. Stay safe. Peace.